Another reason why I left the church, religion, Christianity, and fundamentalism is that the church teaches sexism. Now, before I start getting comments in the comment section how not all churches follow the patriarchal sexist dynamics, you would be true. Not all secular institutions or churches follow sexism, but a lot of churches in Christianity do. And this isn't just a Christian issue. This is a religious issue. This is a human issue. All religions have very sexist dynamics. Some religions are more sexist than others. I will say the most sexist religions I've ever been around was Islam and Christianity. That's not to say that everyone is sexist or that every church group or family is sexist, because that would not be true. But in the many denominations and churches I attended for 25 years, I didn't even notice the sexism. Because when you're taught from the cradle that certain dynamics are natural, God's design, and a perfect working machine, you have no clue that it's not the perfect way to have dynamics. There are different interpretations in denominations within Christianity that interpret scripture and teachings differently. This leads to a varying view on gender roles and equality. Now, this can be a good thing. There are many denominations and churches that no longer follow the patriarchal, extreme, hetero, cis, male hierarchy, but the mainstream, more fundamentalist branches do. Some Christians argue that interpretations of biblical texts have been used to reinforce patriarchal structures and limit women's roles within church and in society. They point to specific verses or passages that emphasize male headship or restrict women from certain leadership positions within the church or in their home. Some suggest this has historically led to women being excluded from leadership, discouraged from ordination, and expected to be subordinate to men. However, many Christians hold egalitarian views, arguing that the Bible promotes equality of the sexes in their worth, dignity, and roles within the home, church, and society. They emphasize passages that assert the equal creation between men and women in God's image and highlight the roles women played in early Christian communities. The argument for ordained women often rests on the idea that the Bible's restrictions on female leadership may be culturally specific to the time in which the texts were written and not intended as universal commands for all ages. They point to the trajectory of the gospel, which expands into participation of various groups in church, including women. In the context of marriage, some interpret headship and submission are seen as reinforcing the hierarchy or toxic dynamics where the husband has authority over the wife. However, other interpretations emphasize mutual submission within an existing loving partnership, with both spouses submitting to God and respecting each other. They emphasize that biblical headship for husbands involves self-sacrificing love and service, not domination or control. Sexism at its root is a belief that women are less than men, regardless of whether it's conscious or subconscious. The debate surrounding interpretation, highlighting the complexity of discerning and applying ancient biblical texts to contemporary issues of gender inequality within the Christian faith, is an ongoing issue. So, for those who weren't raised in the Baptist church, the Baptist, specifically Southern Baptist, hold the opinion or the religious view that women are not supposed to be in senior leadership. This includes elders, deacons, music ministers, senior pastors. Only one time in a Baptist church did I ever see a woman in a position of senior leadership. This was a music minister who was a very talented woman. Within a year of me joining the church, I was around 18. She was removed from leadership for only one reason. She was a woman, and many people in the congregation felt uncomfortable. I didn't really think anything about it. My mother didn't like that it was a female. And I didn't think anything about it. When you're raised in an environment that teaches that women are inferior, and you could ask point blank to most Christians, do you think women are inferior? They would say no. But when you unpackage the toxic teachings about women, if you don't believe women should be in positions of authority over men, that women should be silent, women should be in subjection, most Christians would say they don't believe women are inferior, but they'll teach, behave, and expect for women to be inferior. Luckily, a lot of smaller denominations have become more inclusive, where they have female preachers. But women are stifled in religious environments because there's no way to go up. Southern Baptists, they're known for their sexism. And there's been little to no advancement for women. Even this year, the Southern Baptist Convention, they want to make it illegal for IVF. Conservatives don't like women having privilege or equality. The SBC, the Southern Baptist Convention, is the largest Protestant denomination in the U.S. Their holds and views on gender roles are rooted in their interpretation of Scripture. This interpretation is extremely sexist. The SBC affirms that they have a belief that while men and women are equal in worth and dignity, God created both genders with distinct gender roles, distinct with complementary within church and family. Male leadership in church. The SBC's official statement of faith states that the office of pastor is limited to men. This is based on 1 Timothy 2:12 and Titus 1:5-9. Passages used to restrict certain leadership and teaching roles in the church to men. While women cannot serve as pastors, the FBC emphasizes that women are gifted for service in church in various capacities, including missions, teaching, women, and children, and various leadership positions that do not involve pastoral authority over men. What about female roles in the home? The SBC statement of faith also asserts male leadership in the home, with a wife expected to submit graciously to the servant leadership of her husband. So what about the controversies and criticisms? Women are excluded from senior leadership. Impact on abuse response. Many scholars and activists argue that the SBC's emphasis on male headship and female submission may have contributed to a culture that has made it difficult for women to report and seek justice for any form of abuse within the church, home, or etc. Separate but equal comparisons. Some criticize that the likeness of the SBC's doctrine has been used to justify racial segregation, arguing that it creates an unequal system despite claims of valuing both genders. Well, as they say at Animal Farm, all animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others. Men will always say in church, men and women are equal, they just have different roles. That would be fine if you ever saw a man doing the woman's job or the woman doing the man's job. If the roles are not easily stepped into by any person, regardless of gender or race, you have a problem. If men won't lower themselves to do female roles, and women can't elevate themselves to do stereotypically male roles in church, you have a problem. If people are so equal, why do men have a disdain or don't hold roles that women usually hold? Why don't men help with the potluck? Why don't men plan female retreats? Why aren't men actively working in women's ministry? Because when you have access to every part of the church, men will always choose senior leadership. Men see things as women's jobs, men's jobs. They don't see it as just a human job. Luckily, there are churches out there that are more inclusive. They don't believe in male headship or male-only pastors. Purity culture, very rampant since the 80s. It's very common in Southern Baptists. Ironically, Baptist is the second highest denomination with the most CSA and SA allegations. Only the Roman Catholic Church comes out on number one. Many leaders have called different forms of abuse within their walls evil and unjust. But when you look at the history of Southern Baptist churches, you notice they supported slavery, they supported segregation, Jim Crow laws, they supported abortion until it became legal, and then they changed their minds. They supported the idea that marital assault can't happen. They didn't acknowledge slavery was evil until 1995, and they're still leading Christianity in the U.S. in a way that's extremely sexist. Women were not allowed to serve as messengers for the SBC until 1918. The SBC meets every year to decide what they want to do. And instead of focusing this year on world hunger, child abuse, clergy abuse, they've decided they want to make illegal gay marriage, IVF, and pornography. How are any of those three things harming anyone? I mean, if you want integrity, go after things that really cause harm. Go after abuse, starvation, genocide, negative capitalism. But it's never focused on the right things. It's always focused on morality instead of gross indecency against people. In the 1970s, greater number of women entered 6 Southern Baptist seminaries, professing a calling to be a pastor. In the 1980s, women were a third of the student body for seminary. There was also a time when fundamentalists took charge of the SBC. The SBC owns 6 seminaries and numerous publishing and missionary agencies worth billions of dollars. Fundamentalists use biblical inerrancy, the idea that the Bible is without error in history, as a test for theological faithfulness.